been a while since I've actually used an air cooler in a build, and in fact I don't generally use them. I tend to use AIOs just because I think they look a little bit cooler. But when Gelid actually offered to send us across one of theirs just to take a look at, I thought, you know what, why not? Let's just take a look at it and see how far air coolers have actually come. Now in the past I've used many Gelid products, in particular I've used their mini little tiny fans in 3D printers, and I wasn't even aware that they actually did things like CPU coolers, but they offered to send this one across just for us to take a look at. It is the Gelid Glacier Black. It's a twin tower cooler with twin fans on as well, and if we just dive into some of the specifications, we can take a look at the kind of things that you're going to expect. This one has an airflow CFM of a max of 70. Now that doesn't sound that quiet, to be honest. It sounds like it's going to be a reasonably loud one because of how much air it can actually move. But of course that will come down to how good quality the fans are. The fans have a double ball bearing. It is a 12 volt DC, and they also come with 4-pin PWM. It doesn't actually say on the side here what its max TDP is, but I do believe it does say on the top. Now on the top it says that it is a TDP of 220 watts. That's actually pretty decent. That's pretty high end really for a cooler, so I'm expecting some pretty decent results out of this. It does come with 2 smart ARGB PWM fans. We'll double check the connections on them, make sure that they're pretty standard. A 6 power heat pipes, so again, it's a pretty big cooler, and as you can tell from the box, it's pretty big. It has a high-end black coating, an enhanced mounting kit, whatever that actually means, and you have the option for a triple fan configuration, although I don't believe that they provide that kit in here. You only get the 2, but the packaging's actually pretty decent. I do like the colouring of this. It makes it look a little bit high end. When it comes to compatibility, this actually does fit pretty much most kind of sockets. It fits the AM4, AM3 Plus, AM3, AM2, that kind of stuff, so it's got a pretty broad range when it comes to AMD. Will it fit the AM5? I'm not sure. I would have to look at the specs, but it doesn't actually say it on the box here, but it could be an older box. When it comes to Intel, it does fit a big wide range of things from the LGA 115X series, including the LGA 1200, and it also does say that it fits the LGA 1700, but you will require an additional kit, which we had them send along to here. So you need to bake that into the price if you are actually going to be fitting this on something like an LGA 1700. It's a bit of a shame that they didn't actually include it in this, but maybe they are a slightly older product and you have to get the extra kit just to kind of complement it later. We'll just dive into the box and we'll see how well this is actually packaged up. Straight away we've got a box. I'm assuming this is going to be kind of like accessories and fittings and attachments. It comes with an instruction manual. Now I would, if I were you, actually read the instruction manual because I'm not 100% sure how this actually fits. It does appear to come with its own back plates, so you might need to kind of configure something up. And in this video, we're not actually going through a fitting tutorial, so make sure you read the manual. It does come with some thermal paste, which is the Gelid GC Extreme. I have no idea how good this stuff is. Maybe we'll give it a bit of a test sometime, but it's nice that they include it. We have lots of an assortment of other brackets and things like that. We have a couple of back plates here. This one is for the Intel. It does say Intel on it, so we can see that that one's for the Intel. We also have a bracket here, which I'm going to assume is for AMD because of the shape of it. Maybe it's not, I don't know, but I'm sure the instructions will tell us. We get lots of little grommets and washers and extra spacers, some kind of screws for some kind of fan, or maybe they're just pegs that go through the back. And then we also get a splitter cable so that we can actually split the fans down to one header. It's actually really good that they included that. They are PWM connections. A lot of fan kits don't. They actually provide you 2 fans and then you have to kind of either use 2 headers or you have to actually buy another one. So it's nice that they included this. Most people will probably have 2 headers that they can do it from, but if you just wanted it to run from one header, so both fans will run from the same header at the same speeds, then it's great that they've included that. You also get 2 sets of brackets for the fans. It would have been nice if they'd have actually included the 3 in here, because you can configure this into a triple fan and maybe you just buy the extra fan. I did check their website and I couldn't exactly see an upgrade kit for this where you get the fan and the extra brackets, so I'm not exactly sure how you would do that, but I'm sure maybe it is listed somewhere. But that's all of the pretty much the accessories you get. I believe they're the AM4 brackets there because of the way that they're shaped. Inside the box, it's packaged pretty well. We've got some nice big polystyrene patches here. We've got a box here, which I'm going to guess is a fan. That's going to be one of the fans there. And then we'll pull all the rest out and we'll take a look at how big this is. Now, as I said before, this cooler is a pretty big cooler. It is a dual tower here, so we're going to have a fan either side. I'm not exactly sure which way this goes round, but if I do actually just pull this fan out of here and take a look, it does appear that the actual bracket on the bottom is slightly off center. So we're gonna have to be careful on how we actually install this. We've got to make sure that we do it the right way. Hopefully we don't have any problems, and the instruction manual should tell us anyway. But it's got a nice bin stack here. I actually like the color of it. It's in a base kind of black, so I think it's going to go really nice in a case. There's nothing fancy really about it, apart from the fact that it's got its 6 heat pipes here and an extra cooling pad on the top where the screw mounts come down. But of course, the way that this actually mounts down, looking at it, you will need an extra long screwdriver to get all the way down to the screws here. So they don't provide anything like that. So make sure you've got one if you are going to be installing one of these. I actually like that. It's a nice big unit, and you're going to get plenty of cooling off this, particularly with the amount of fin arrays on it, and there's nothing actually damaged. So that's pretty good. Sometimes when you get radiators or heat sinks like this, sometimes they do come with little bent fins. So it's good to know that their quality control is working perfectly fine. When it comes to the fans, of course, we've got 2 fans here. Now there should be a matching set of 120mm fans, and according to the box, they should also be ARGB. Now this is one of the fans here. There's no actual kind of real branding on top of them. There is a sticker on the back here, which just pretty much tells you it's a Gelid Stellar fan. I believe that is one of the models of the fans they do. So I'm pretty sure you can actually buy these separately, which means that you can actually match a system in. I really do love it when companies do that, because it means that you're not going to replace these just to get things to match. You can actually buy the matching fans for your case. The fans themselves are in a white color, but that's only purely so the ARGB can shine through. We're going to have some LEDs in the middle here that are going to shine onto the fins. And then we have a dual ring system, one at the front, one at the back. So no matter which way you fit these, you're going to get the light coming through. That again is a nice feature, because sometimes when you're actually fitting them onto a cooler, you want the air to be push-pull. So we're going to have a fan, for argument's sake, here pushing air through so we can see the light. And if you were to actually install one on the back instead, depending on the space you've got, you're also going to see the light from the back too. So that's one reason why this is actually a pretty good setup. When it comes to the connections on the fans, we've got some nice black wiring here, and they do go to pretty standard connections. Here we have a 4-pin PWM. I really do like it when brands use the standard connections, because it means that, okay, you do have extra wiring in a case, particularly when they don't clip together or they don't just all go to a hub on a single wire, but it does mean that you can be much more adaptable in fitting things in. It means that it will fit on pretty much every motherboard header. You don't need a separate controller, and if the controller broke, you wouldn't have to go buy another one. So I do really like that. And it appears to be the same for the ARGB. On the ARGB one, we do have a 3-pin standard connection. That is a female side, and then we also have a male side, so it does piggytail to each other. That is, again, pretty good, because a lot of motherboards only come with one header, so you can actually plug that into that single header and extend it to the other fan so that you can get the same lighting effects. Now, this whole kit would cost you about £60, and unfortunately, it is very hard to get into the cooling market. There is so much competition when it comes to coolers, particularly with brands like Thermalright. They do some fantastic coolers, some really high performance coolers for not a lot of money. So this thing does have to compete in a market where it's probably going to get completely trounced. I think that we should actually just get this hooked up into a system and see how well it performs, see if it can keep a pretty decent CPU cool, and then I suppose you could kind of class it as a win if it's something of the design that you're kind of after. Now, while we're doing a bit of a mid-fit here, I thought I would just mention again that the motherboard that we're going to be fitting this onto is our benching rig. I thought it was the biggest thing that we had to actually test this cooler, and it is an LGA 1700. The CPU in here is a 12th gen processor. It is the 12700K, so they do get a bit warm, and that's going to really give this a bit of a test. But of course, it does require the extra kit just to fit it to the socket. This is the one that they actually sent along. I did request this specifically because I did think we were going to be installing it on this system. It's very basic, to be honest. You do get an extra instruction manual, kind of just telling you how to fit it together, which is cool because it's not obviously going to be included in the original. And then inside the packet, we get everything that we need to actually fit it to the LGA 1700 socket. We get an extra back plate, we get the extra spacers, and we get the extra kind of bars that it's going to screw down with. So if you are going to fit it to an LGA 1700, make sure you actually request one of these, or at least ask them where to purchase one, because otherwise you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be able to fit it to the motherboard, and you're pretty much then going to be stuck into being able to do anything. You're going to have to refit your old cooler, then try and sort it out later. So make sure you do check that out. So the installation of the cooler was actually perfectly fine. There was nothing unique there at all. It fits just like any other cooler, but there is a bit of an issue, and that is because I can't install a fan on the front. There is absolutely no clearance here for your RAM. You would have to take out at least 3 sticks unless you've got some real super low profile RAM. Most people nowadays have RAM with big coolers and RGB, so if you are trying to fit it in a system and matching up the RGB with the RGB fans, you're not going to really be able to do it. You can though install the fans on the back here. It does mean you're not going to see that much RGB, and that's why I didn't actually change the colors. This is plugged into the motherboard and it's the standard Gigabyte orange. It will do rainbow and stuff like that, but I never thought about changing it because you guys can't even see it anyway. We are now into the operating system. Everything is running perfectly fine. The CPU 12700K is a turbo boost clock speed TDP of 190 watts. The cooler says that it can support up to a 220 watt CPU, so it shouldn't have any issues keeping this cool. I've got some apps up here. We've got Cinebench, we've got hardware info. The core temperature is 18 degrees, which is about normal for the kind of temperature that's in the room. But if we just kick off a Cinebench and let that cooler kind of absorb some of the heat, we'll see how far it can actually go and see what's actually going to happen. Now the test has only really just kicked off. It's probably been about a minute of the test running, and we've already kind of shot up to around 71 degrees. That's actually not too bad for this CPU. I've actually seen it do worse. If you actually strap something like a 120mm all-in-one cooler, which I've tested just for fun, onto the 12700K, you pretty much instantly get 100 degrees and everything starts to throttle. But we are actually running at the moment at 4.6 gigahertz on pretty much all the cores, and we're currently running at around 75 degrees. So what we'll do is we'll leave it to continue. We'll give it a few more minutes, let it absorb that heat and see what it can actually kind of keep the CPU at. Now the test has been running for about 5 minutes now, and we've kind of just hit the limit of what the cooler can actually cool down. It's not getting any hotter. The CPU is currently at 83 degrees and it kind of floats between 83, 84. So I'm actually really impressed with how much this cooler is keeping this CPU cool. I've had much worse coolers installed onto the 12700K, and this one is actually coping perfectly fine. I will admit there is a lot of noise from those fans. They're probably not something you really want to use. They're okay when they're not running at full speed, and maybe they won't when you're actually gaming. They have this kind of high-pitched whir to them, so it's not really a wind noise, it's more of a spinning noise. So I don't know, maybe if you lower them a little bit, then it could be perfectly fine. If you give it a nice fan curve, they might be okay. So with the testing complete, I'm actually quite impressed with this cooler. It's managed to keep the 12700K under control with its temperatures. Not many things that I've actually strapped to this have done that. I usually need to run something like a 360mm AIO just to do this. So it's actually a pretty impressive cooler. It is a shame about the fans not actually fitting and having the room for the RAM. They do have a slight cutout on it, so I assume that they're kind of built really so that you use low profile RAM. So you need to take that into consideration if you're doing it. If you are going to get the 3-fan kind of configuration, you're going to get the extra upgrade kit. I've not actually seen one for sale. I can't really spot it on the website. I'm sure it's there somewhere though. You will definitely need to use low profile RAM, because I just can't imagine how or where it would actually fit if you didn't. If you do raise the fans off of the actual cooler itself, the heatsink, they would actually touch the glass panel, particularly in this case, so that's not a real option for you. So I've kind of configured it like this, and maybe you'll have to too. Is it actually worth the £60 that you would pay for one of these? Actually, I don't think it's too bad. It looks nice. The fans are okay. They're not brilliant. You could replace them though. It does seem to perform exceptionally well. So it does have some tough competition out there, but I think it will kind of stand up on its own. So that is my look at the Gelid Glacier Black Twin Tower CPU cooler. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, and let me know in the comments below if you want us to test even more coolers like this, because we don't tend to do them very often, but we can do them if you guys want it. Should we actually do a comparison video where we compare this to something else? We are going to be installing something different into the benching, into this test rig soon, so maybe we'll just do a quick comparison about that. And I'm sure as always, we will catch you guys in the next one.